Right, so it's been a couple months. My neck's got stiffer. My back's got stiffer. I don't know. Like, so I had a lot of YouTube videos recorded over the past month that I just never uploaded for some reason, which is fine. But I just thought I'd make an update for my kids, obviously, and anyone that might find this video helpful. Go over the stuff that I learned in these past kind of 3 months, and you can take what lessons you want to take out of it. So I guess I'll start with like January. I got very heavy into programming. I enjoy programming. I enjoy the thought of making like a cybersecurity company, um, or like a networking company, but it's not something that I'm necessarily too passionate about now. Um, and I think, yes, it's good, but it's a very deep rabbit hole that I kind of have to keep going down. And so maybe as a side project, I'd kind of work on it a bit more, but I ended up giving it up because I found that I wasn't doing the stuff that I necessarily needed to do. Oh yeah, by the way, I shaved my hair. I just realised that in January I had hair. Now I don't. I've just got out of the shower, which also leads me to my next point, which I kind of. Oh no, I was talking about cybersecurity and such. Anyway, I was in Muay Thai. I've actually swapped to boxing as it fits my schedule better. I love Muay Thai. I love boxing. Muay Thai is always going to have a special place in my heart. But I really love boxing. Very, very fun. Very brain damaging though, I guess. But it's very rewarding when you step out the gym and you've got like a black eye and you know you've actually put some work in and you've like, maybe this is just me, but I've proved to myself that, you know, I can, I guess, be a tank basically. Because when I was a kid, I was just a victim, and I like to prove to myself that I'm not a victim. Which, now that I realise it, all of the times when I was hard on myself, it all came down to me not wanting to feel like a victim in my own head. Pretty cool. Just realised that now. I've been bulking since September, end of August. It's now May, so that's many months. I'm looking kind of bigger, but I don't know when to cut, to be honest. That's completely fine though. I just realised I need to kind of find a way to make these videos more engaging. I feel like my kids will get bored of watching this shit, but hey ho. What have I learned? I've been researching quantum physics a lot more. Very interesting. You should look up the double slit experiment. It's an experiment where physicists shot photon beams through like two pieces, well, a piece of paper that has two slits in it, and essentially they had a backboard at the back, and their theory was that it would, you know, hit a certain kind of like where the slits were on the backboard, something along these lines. And what they found was when light is not observed by humans, it can not only be a particle, but it can be a wavelength. And I believe it takes the shortest path possible, the least path of resistance. I'm not too sure, but space has also been very interesting. Black holes and the edge of the universe. I've kind of been looking more into that. I know it's quite random, but I'm quite interested in it. I was actually watching a video about self-education today, and he made a really valid point, this guy. I think it was actually a philosopher who said this, and he quoted him. But it was something along the lines of, you cannot like buy interest. You cannot force yourself to be interested in something, and you also can't force yourself to learn about something that you are not interested in. So, like, for example, school, I never focused in school. I never liked sitting down. I never liked how I was taught because I just wasn't interested in any of the subjects or the way that they taught. And one thing I've realised is that a lot of people have a closed mindset when it comes to learning. They think that education stops at a certain age or a certain point. But an immature mind is a mind that thinks that way. And so to actually grow in general, if you don't want the same mind at flipping 20 as you do at 50, or at 50 as you do as 20, you got to keep learning, basically. And I think that's just a super relevant point. So I guess one key takeaway from that kind of statement is that, you should probably find some stuff you're interested in and don't force yourself to be interested in anything. I don't know if I mentioned it, I guess in the 6 months I probably have, but I've swapped from Muay Thai to boxing. My head's pretty, because I've just came back from training and I've got a call in 2 hours and I've got to do a bunch of stuff, so my head's kind of all over the place at the moment. So if I mention things again, I apologise, but I just like to keep these things kind of raw. In terms of the agency, it's not going too bad. It's going okay. My payment processor got shut down by the company. Very, very daft. I've had to now find a new payment processor, make a new account, which I'm actually going to check right now how that's looking, because this sales call that I've got definitely, he's closed already pretty much, and I need a payment processor to actually take this through. Doesn't look like they've actually allowed me to start selling yet because the contract's under review. I'm gonna have to message Evan about that. Evan is one of my representatives for this company, so we'll have to get that sorted and potentially use someone's payment processor. It's only a little payment, $750 and $150 pay per appointment, but this guy sounded pretty cool, and I definitely think that he will close. In fact, I know that he'll close because I'm not the best fucking closer on the planet. But I've also been thinking a little bit more recently about reality and using your mind in order to shape your reality. It's very freeing because Allah has given us a brain and Allah has written rules for the universe that we can capitalize on to, make our lives better. And so I wrote this down 2 days ago knowing that I would make a video, and I wanted to read this out. 1 second. I wanted to read this out. And it might be a bit messed up because I wrote this quite late at night, but the universe loves symmetry because it's the least energy intensive thing, right? So when you look at snowflakes, they have 6 points, it's symmetrical, like butterfly wings, that kind of stuff, right? The universe works in such a way that to produce things, it takes the path of least resistance. Look at the double slit experiment with light. It takes every possible path and state when not observed by the human. Basically, we need to align our internal and external and make sure that they are not conflicting with each other, so that we can get to our goals in, with the path of least resistance, I guess. All the hustler like kind of mindset about work is hard is actually quite not, it's quite a wrong way of thinking about things. And what I realised, and Cameron England actually talked about this, someone quite big in the agency space, is that recently he has been the laziest he's ever been. He's taken the most logical, you know, path of least resistant things, and he's made so much more money because of it. But then I also wrote, if there are infinite possibilities, and essentially the world revolves around us, and we attract our reality, according to the laws and theories of quantum physics, there are multiple kind of realities or timelines happening all at once, like the butterfly effect. Obviously that's just a theory, however it's quite relevant to this point. What is it to say that I couldn't make a company so influential in pushing humanity forward technologically, biologically, etc., and that it doesn't exist right now? I'm simply in a timeline in which my current reality is as it's being, and all I need to do is tap into the me who is in the reality I want to be in. If reality is subjective, who says I don't have a company right now like Lockheed Martin's? And so I was actually thinking about this late at night. I think my end goal is probably to make a company that has multiple branches, like an enterprise, I guess, or something like that, right? I want to enhance our human capabilities in a halal way. I want to technologically advance us. I want to create, you know, fighter jets, these kind of things. Even arms dealing, I'm not opposed to. Obviously, I need to check if this is all like halal or haram, because technically you're taking a human's life in the machines that I've made, and so, you know, morally and ethically, is that, you know, a problem? But I just think companies like Lockheed Martin and you know, these kind of companies are really interesting. They really interest me because their technology is so advanced, and every time I see some kind of like advanced technology or some kind of advanced you know, software, this always has to be imagined in someone's head before it can be made into reality. I'm not sure who it was. I think it might have been Leonardo da Vinci. He designed the first helicopter before helicopters were even a thing. Before like cars were even a thing. Before guns were even a thing, pretty much. Da Vinci designed a helicopter that actually works perfectly to how we have helicopters now. So it's fascinating to me that our minds are so creative and we have so much imagination, yet most people fail to use their imagination or don't believe that whatever they see in their mind they can put into reality, right? For example, like, this is really stupid, really little, but we had a really good patch of sun in the UK, which is, you know, relatively rare for this country in 2026. And what's... Oh, wow, that's a crazy camera freeze. You know, we've had that really nice patch of sun, and then we've kind of gone cloudy again. And I've been walking home from the gym, getting some cardio and fresh air. You know, I don't really do too much. You know, I go on runs, I go boxing, go gym. But I don't generally, frequently in my day, get outside my house. And I thought, wow, the weather's not really that nice today. So, what's stopping me from just seeing reality as sunny? As schizophrenic as this sounds, I just thought the clouds weren't there. And I got the same kind of dopamine release of walking in summer in the sun, but I was walking on the clouds, which is kind of interesting. But it just shows how much you actually can change your reality internally, or like inside of your mind. And yes, whilst the physical reality is not changing, you know, externally, internally it is, and so who's to say externally it isn't? You know, just kind of like, you know, what you're looking at, the clouds are still there, but it feels like a sunny day. But yeah, I actually had another point that I was going to go on to, and I kind of forgot. It was just like some kind of update, but I'm sure it will come back to me. I kind of want to go as like schizophrenic as possible in a sense, right? Like, when I think about it, like to other people, I sound schizophrenic saying what I've just said then. And so what I've realised is like the more schizophrenic you sound, the better your life kind of gets, in a sense. Obviously, you need to be down to earth, humble, and these kind of things, which brings me on to my next point I was going to say, but I forgot. So, I'm going to go on to that point to not forget it, but I'm just trying to kind of schizo max, right? I'm just trying to make reality, like, kind of bend to my will inside of my head, right? You know. I'm going to go on to my next point, and this is that I have been spending a lot more time around kind of British culture in the sense of the countryside, you know, horses, a cup of tea, do you know what I mean? Like a cup of tea whilst you're working type of thing. And I actually really like England. Not the side that I see most of the time in my town, but the England that we kind of ignore or don't pay as much attention to, which is, you know, things like the countryside and the actual history of England. Whilst the British Empire was not necessarily the best empire, I don't think any empire is perfect. They were powerful, and it's quite inspirational. Which also leads me to the point of being a gentleman. And most of the time, when people say, like, you know, oh, I'm a gentleman, your first thought is kind of like, yeah, I have manners and maybe I'm good with women, for example. When I think about being a gentleman, I don't think about those things. I think about the character of a man, right? A gentleman is somebody who carries themselves well with confidence. They are always confident in situations where, even if they aren't necessarily all there in terms of confidence, they will portray that they are. They are, I don't know if I mentioned this, but they're well mannered. They dress and they are extremely clean and look after themselves. They have good mannerisms. And I think this stems from the British Empire, the whole picture of being a gentleman. It's why everyone wanted to do business with us. Obviously, we were a big power, but our character, in terms of, you know, English people back in the day, was that of people who succeeded in life, and I guess I can't put my finger on it. I can't put a finger on a descriptive word, like a one single word. But, you know, for example, suits. I can't put my finger on this, so I'm just going to brush past this point. But I've been looking more into the characteristics of a gentleman and adopting those. Dressing nicely and being presentable, and I feel better for it, 100%. You know, even if I'm just sat at home, I'll just sit in a suit or I'll just sit in quite smart clothing. And I was speaking to my boy about this today. I was like, bro, like, you're gonna be 35 wearing baggy jeans. Do you know what I mean? Like, it gets to a point where you can't be 35 wearing a Nike Tech, for example. Like, you just can't. it's you look kind of trampy, and so we were kind of talking about that. And then he said, bro, you look too far into the future. And my point of view is like, of course I look far into the future, bro. Like, my future's bright, and I get a better picture of my goals as long as you don't look too far ahead and you don't kind of get obsessed with the future. But I just thought I'd start dressing like how I would when I'm super successful, when I am older, and carrying myself like that as well. Walking with my shoulders more upright, I guess. Walking how I would walk if I was 35 and I owned a company like Lockheed Martin, I guess. I'm not sure if I've really gone over the agency, but that's going okay. Yeah, I think I went over the payment processor and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to give like a decent update, some thoughts and philosophies that I've been pondering upon. I think I've covered self-education as well, about interests and making sure that you are constantly educating yourself, because you don't want to have the same brain that you did at 20 when you're 50, and that happens when you close your mind to learning and perceiving life in a different way. So yeah, I guess to my future kids watching this, I hope I've not bored you too much, and to anyone watching this now, I hope I've not bored you too much, and I hope that I've given you some kind of inspiration or lessons, or you can relate to this in some kind of way. I'm going to keep uploading pretty frequently, maybe like once a week, once every month, once every 2 weeks, because I like this. It's kind of like a diary, it's like a journal of how my life is going right now. So, yeah, see you guys soon.